What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Essential Oilers podcast, episode 6 here. It has been a little bit of a while since we have had our last podcast episode out. Schedules haven't matched up, but we're back. Myself again, Andrew Bennett, Benny, my right-hand man, Scott Sweitz.
How's it going?
Good, going good. It's been a while, so we got a little bit of news to cover.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll quickly brush over the old news, but probably the most significant of the Oilers season so far, the firing of Coach Todd McLellan and the hiring of Coach Ken Hitchcock. Or thoughts at the time?
Honestly, for Todd, I loved. I felt like he wasn't getting the respect in the room, and I felt like he would jumble lines up. I know Hitchcock has been doing that as of late, jumbling the lines, but I felt like he wasn't giving anybody a chance out there. The boys weren't really listening to him, and I just felt like they just didn't have that drive. Like, they're coming out slow, which is your coach's, you have to get your boys ready for the game. That's all on the coach.
I think that's like what they mentioned too on like Spit and Chicklets and stuff, is like he lost the room. Mm-hmm. Basically, which a lot of the coaches that have gotten fired this year, like in Philly and in
Chicago,
or where did Yo get fired from?
St. Louis.
St. Louis. All those coaches just lost the room. Mm-hmm. And many people have seen it. I think Mark Savard actually had tweeted out on Twitter right before
he got fired.
He's like, end it now, Edmonton. He's lost the room. You can tell. I've been in a room when this happens. It's going in one ear, out the other. The players aren't listening, and when that happens, it's kind of a lost cause.
And then what are your thoughts on let's get Ken Hitchcock?
You know what? I was happy about that. Like, obviously, everybody was pushing, wanted the Quenneville, but it had been made clear that he was not going to be signing anywhere this year because he can ride out the rest of his contract with Chicago, really, if he wanted to. Mm-hmm. So I figured he wasn't going to sign anywhere this year and then just take the summer and kind of feel out his options from there. So I really, honestly, Ken Hitchcock wasn't even on my radar at that point. I didn't know where we were going to go. I literally didn't even think of him. Totally forgot that he's an Edmonton guy. So then when they said that, I was like, you know what? I was like, guy's third most winning coach in the NHL. So I was like, this could be good. And then I started, listening to reports on him and what people said. And they made the remark that he's a guy that can come in and change things really quick. Mm-hmm. He is not afraid to call people out. He does the proper way, though. He doesn't call them out in the media. Dallas. But he, call them out like in behind closed doors and get the boys fired up. They were saying that his message gets old as the years drag on, and that's why he doesn't stick around too long. But he's really good at making a quick 180 change. So
that's what I like the best about it, is that it's, from the sounds of it, he's only being here for the year. If he makes the playoffs, then they'll talk about an extension. But it's just a quick signing for him. Ken's a guy that can go in there and make them more accountable defensively and learn the game. So even if the Oilers don't make the playoffs this year, which I hope they do, and I think there's still a very good chance that they can, there's still that opportunity that they could learn a lot from this guy and a lot of the younger teams, because they do still have a very young team and the guys that are still very unproven. Like, I look at Jesse Puljujarvi, that's his downfall, is his defensive game. You got like Kei Yamamoto and then McDavid and Leon. They're both still young guys. I know they don't need to worry about the defensive game that much, but what the other thing too is, like you said, is like his teams have always done really good at first and then they get dry of it. So I'm happy that the time frame, it just seems like a win-win situation, and the worst thing that goes in is like we have a coach that got fired and replaced for 1 year. It's like not a big deal.
Exactly. Then you can kind of figure it out in the off season if they don't make the playoffs. And he had a great start in his first 14 games, 9-3-1.
9-3-1
started off too. So like that's a great start. You can't ask for literally any better than that. But as of late, obviously they've been on a bit of a slide right now. And we were just talking before. We don't think it's mainly because some people are saying that Hitchcock's magic is already running dry on the team. We're thinking it mainly has to do with some big injuries on the back end specifically.
Yes. I think it's a big one is you take away any team's whole left side deal. I know Darnell Nurse is there, but you take away Clefbaum, Russell, Sekera, and you're not going to do well with any team. It doesn't matter who they are.
It doesn't matter what team it is if you take away 3 of their top 4 D-man. I know that those 3 wouldn't be top 4s on some other teams, but still, regardless, you take away teams' top 3 or 4 D-men, no team's going to do well. There's no team that's probably going to go on and start winning after that, and most teams will go on a slide. I mean, 0-6 isn't that great at all, but yeah.
They're back to playing 500 hockey again. So, but mine that I look at with Hitch right now is he's bringing more of the trap game into play. They were doing a ton of dump and chase, and the other thing too is someone tweeted about it how the Oilers, or TSN did a little spin on it with Ken Hitchcock's first 10 games, how the Oilers were number 1 in the league for teams not having time in their zone.
Yeah.
And that's just because they're getting quick pucks out and they're dumping it in. So, I don't know. I really like what he's done, and I think it's been going good for him.
Yeah, I think I'm happy with the move. I'm still happy with the move. I think he's a great coach, and clearly that's proven from all of his success. So overall, I'm just excited for Ken Hitchcock to be coming in, to be staying, see what he does for the rest of the season. Obviously, he's had good success with our team now, and definitely he's had some opposite of that, complete non-success, 0-6. But I'm just interested to see where he goes from there.
No, I'm very interested to see how these next couple games slide out and how it goes till pretty much the All-Star break, because I think that's going to be the make or breaker part of the season. I know that's very cliche to say, but honestly, like how you do without your defenseman there, that's huge, and how they're going to be playing. And I don't know, they just need something to give. I felt like the Oilers, like maybe they haven't been playing the best hockey, but I just felt like they've been doing enough most nights to get a W at least, and then a lot of the goals, like Luch, I don't know what he did in 2018 or which he pissed off, but like for him to score 2 goals and he gets some grade A chances, like not grade A, but he gets good chances. Like he shouldn't be at this few goals for the whole year.
Exactly.
And same with like Toby Reeder, he hasn't scored a goal yet, and he's been one of the guys this year that I've actually, for Peter Charlie's signings for free agents, he's one of the better ones. I thought even before his injury, I thought he was looking amazing. Just hadn't had a goal, so hopefully those lines can change it up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. It's hard to pinpoint where the Oilers are going wrong now when you have injuries that you do. I mean, like I said before, I don't want to be the team that just using excuse and saying that it's all because of injuries, but that's obviously a huge part of it in my mind is the injuries. You can't make up for that. But yeah, I think that once again, it's the top lines that are just holding, like putting the points up. It's the first and second line that are producing all the points, and that's obviously the whole point of them. But you also need to have those third and fourth lines chipping in a goal every second, third game if they can. Mm-hmm. And I get an important goal here and there, right? Not just a goal where the team's up 5-1 and it's meaningless. Get a tying goal. Like you need those big goals from those kind of players more often. I don't think the Oilers are getting that.
No, and then the one tweet that they showed today was for the Oilers scoring this year is literally if you score 5 goals, you will be in the top 6 scoring for the Edmonton Oilers out of all their forwards, which is like this year it's atrocious. Like
that's brutal.
What's Claude Lemieux's son, Brendan Lemieux, the other night against the Jets, he scored 2 against us.
Yeah,
he'd be almost up there for goals. I don't know after one game.
Yeah,
like it's not a pretty year this year for their forwards and how they're playing. Like everyone talks about the Oilers' D looking bad, and I honestly think it's actually not the D. I feel it's more at this point the depth on forwards that they're just not bringing it enough for the team. And then I look at our first line when they go out there to play the McDavid line. Like McDavid always looks good when he gets the puck. And then the second line with Nuge, I feel like we have an okay second line. You just need a little bit of. I think Nuge needs one more guy to help carry the load.
Yeah.
And then the third line, I feel like the third line we might have the worst third line in the NHL.
Yeah.
And it's not good enough. And then the fourth line could be fine. Everybody's fourth line is all right.
Yeah.
But as like the third line, you need what you said, you need a goal 1 every 3 games. And they haven't scored pretty much any goals.
Yeah. And I totally agree with Nugent Hopkins. You know, if you give him some sort of scoring winger. So, because Nuge is lately, with his shot, he's been shooting really well, and he has a very sneaky shot. But, he's a pass-first kind of guy, or at least that's how he's always been, traded as. But, if you get him just, kind of a natural scorer, it's, a proven natural scorer, not just a Ty Ratty who is a scorer coming up through junior, an NHL scorer. It doesn't have to be anything, unbelievable. You don't need a Kucherov there or anything like that. You just need somebody that's a solid enough guy that when you're going to put him in the right spot, he's going to bury 7 out of 10 times, pretty much.
Yeah, and the one that I just look at, and I know we'll talk about him later, is you look at how many teams have dealt for players. Like, look at that Mike Hoffman deal for over the summer. Why wasn't Trelly going after someone like that?
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you going after anybody that could potentially score? Because right now, I just pulled it up. For the goal scoring, if you want to be an active Edmonton Oiler forward, you need to score 3 goals. Jesse Puljujarvi is 5th for the Edmonton Oiler forwards with 3 goals.
And then what is it? I believe it's either... It's... So, how do the points go there?
The goals go... Leon and Connor at 21, Chase on at 16, Nugent Hopkins at 14, Drake Caggiula at 7, and then Kyle Broziak and Jesse Puljujarvi at 3 for forwards. Okay. Darnell Nurse has 5 goals, and that's the only difference there.
Now, you might be able to help me on this stat, and I can't remember what it was, but it was Winnipeg or Tampa, and they already, I believe, it was one of those, already have 5 20-point getters, or is it 20 goal scorers? I wouldn't think it'd be 20 goal scorers.
I don't think it's goal scorers. I think it was Tampa. They have 5 20-point getters because it was Kucherov, Stamkos, Point.
Trying to think of who else they have. Tyler Johnson.
Yes.
And I can't think of who their 5th would be.
It'd be someone, but and that's just like.
And there's the difference right there. I mean, you're not expecting 5 guys to have 20 points, but that shows the difference of the top team in the NHL, who's still playing ridiculous right now. Like, up when they beat Edmonton, they were at 11-0-1 in their last 12. Mm-hmm. They're playing insane hockey. And when you have guys like that, man, that consistently put up points from every line, I know it's majority of their first 2 lines, but still you're getting mass amount of points from more than just 3 guys. Mm-hmm. That's the difference right there.
No, and then just looking at the Oilers forward stats, we have McDavid at 58, Draisaitl at 49, and Nugent Hopkins at 36. Then it goes down to Jason at 20, then 2 defensemen, then Jujhar Khaira at 13.
See, that drop-off is insane. You can't have that. You can't just be that top-heavy and reliant. You can't. You have to have depth.
Like, I look at a team that came out hot was Colorado, and they're still, don't get me wrong, like, they're still a very good team, and they're doing awesome, but they're starting to fall back. Why? Because teams are figuring out, you stop the one line, and then, their game's kind of over. Yep. And nothing against Colorado, I'm just saying that's just an example I'm using, where it's like, what team you want to be? You want to be like Tampa Bay.
Exactly.
Where they have everybody rolling, and it's like the Oilers are not there yet. That's why they're not going to be a playoff team right now. They're going to be on the make a wild card or just miss it.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why, teams are doing the same thing that they're doing with Colorado as they're doing with Edmonton. They're either shutting down McDavid for the night, and then there's a good chance that we're probably not going to be winning that game if they shut him down, or their third and fourth second line are putting up more numbers than our second, third, fourth line are.
Yep.
And McDavid can only go 1-for-1 with another team's top line as much as he can, but when it gets down to that second, third, fourth line and all those other teams' lines are chipping in, and we can't keep up to trying to produce those during a game, you're not going to win hockey games.
I know, and that's what's frustrating about the Oilers this year, is that you literally have the best player in the world in Connor McDavid, and he can't carry this team.
No.
And the one thing I kind of just want to chip in on is I'm just so tired of the Edmonton Oilers fans and their negativity about everything this year, and it just feels like it's just the most cancerous fans we have out there. And I understand the frustration. Believe me, I've been an Oilers fan my entire life. I get it. But for them to say the year's wasted, I'm not watching this team, I'm not going to support them, I'm not doing this. It's like, man, I still love watching the Oilers. I always will love watching them. And it's like, you got to watch Connor McDavid every night. Things could be a lot worse.
Exactly.
And I was like, the thing is, you just got to hope that up there, that I think this will be the year that they're not going to re-sign Peter Chiarelli. Guarantee. Even if they make the playoffs, you look at this team, and when you have guys like Mark Spector who go off that say, you look at Peter Chiarelli's team when he got it to what he has now, it's not better.
No.
It's really not. I look at the D-core, I'm going to be honest, the D-core's gotten a lot better, but at the expense of the forward core has dropped off huge. So
exactly.
it's like,
and he hasn't made up for that even in the slightest.
No, and so now I'll ask you the next question about our thoughts on Peter Chiarelli and the trade. So we'll just go over the trades right now. So the Petrovic trade, what did you think about that one for Chris Weidman and a third?
I was fine with that one. many people are saying, it fits Hitchcock's style. Gritty, slower, heavy body guys. Weidman was barely being used. The first game he played with us, he got absolutely danced. I think that was against Winnipeg.
Yep.
He got absolutely danced around. I actually thought, honestly, when we picked him up from Ottawa, I was way more optimistic with him. I literally thought, I was like, okay, this guy's actually, like, might sneak a couple points in here and there and stuff like that. But then when I just realized he's not, like, for D-man, I know you don't always have to be big, but God, does he just get moved around in the NHL. He can't hold his ground. He's panicked with the puck, I feel like, a lot.
I felt like he lost a lot of corner battles too, and I also thought when they brought him over, they're talking about potentially someone to run your second power play line, big shot from the D, and I just didn't see it. I know they only, I forget what they said, like 55 minutes of playing time. You only got to see him in, but that was enough. I was like, meh, he's okay. Like
he wasn't going to be any better.
No, and I felt like he was very much a defensive liability out there. Where Petrovic, I haven't watched much of him because he plays in Florida, good to be honest.
Yep.
All I know is that he played with Nuge, and he's from Edmonton, and 6'4", 220. And from the one game I saw him play, he moved pretty decent. And he's going to win those puck battles. And for a 5'6" D-man, I have no issues with that trade at all.
I'm fine with giving that up too. We gave a second rounder, I believe.
Third rounder, because we have two, because we got one from last year.
But for Weidman, what we gave...
Oh,
was Weidman a second rounder?
No, Weidman wasn't a second rounder. Weidman wasn't that much.
Or like a fourth?
Yeah, I want to say it was like a fourth.
So really, we gave a fourth and third for Petrovic, which he actually, when he was coming into the NHL, and I'm pretty sure he played juniors and stuff, he had a lot more hype coming in.
Yeah, well, he was a second round pick, and he had 50 points in 68 games with Red Deer Rebels.
Yeah.
And he had 141 penalty minutes.
For a bigger, bruising D-man, that's pretty good numbers to be putting up. So, they always say that if guys were saying that if he can get back to where he was touted to be when he came into this league, that's a huge pickup for the Oilers. But obviously, there's no guarantee. But
no,
you always got to hope on that fresh start.
No, and then you got to hope on it. And the other one too is that he has 50 points in 255 games, which 1 every 5 games isn't bad for a defenseman, especially a 5'6" defenseman. And so I'm optimistic about him. I thought that was a good trade. Now to the trade that Brandon Manning.
Yeah.
I don't even. Do you want me to start on this one, or do you want to go? I think this is just an all-round terrible trade. Now, the reason why I don't like this trade is because, number one, you just traded for a 5'6" defenseman, and you got another one the same day.
Yeah.
Number two, you got rid of your top 5 forward point getter, Drake Ajula. Yeah, he only had 7 goals, but guess what? That was still good enough for 5th on the Oilers forward core.
And he was probably one of the hardest working guys on the team.
One of the hardest working guys on the team. I love him. Do I think he is a little, overrated? Because he's a fan favorite. Good, believe me. I love Drake Caggiula. However, he's not as good as people think in Edmonton as he is. He did a lot of the flyby plays. Wasn't always in the right position. But once again, tried very hard. Always hit. Was a gritty guy. Guy that just everybody loves. So I loved him. It sucked that he left. And then you bring in 5'6" defenseman we already traded for. And you literally have the nicest captain in the NHL and the one guy in the league that he hates you trade for.
Yeah.
I was like, Brandon Manning, I know we, like us Oilers fans, haven't forgot that you broke his collarbone. And everyone's like, oh, it's a long time. But why bring that distraction to a team that's already doesn't need distractions?
Exactly.
That was mine. And Brandon Manning is a 6'7", 5 to 7 defenseman out there. And it's not like, Brandon, or it's not like Connor McDavid got broken collarbone from Erik Karlsson and you're like, well, this guy's really good. No, there's 200 of Brandon Mannings out there.
That's exactly it, man. Like, you put the McDavid collarbone aside. That's still a bad trade. He's not a good defenseman, giving up Caggiula. And didn't we send Garrison too?
Yeah, and Garrison.
Yeah, which is whatever.
Whatever.
You don't send those guys for him. Who, again, he's just 5'6", but he's fitting that Chiarelli big and slow Boston 2011 team that doesn't work anymore in this year's NHL.
No.
It's ridiculous. But then, again, like you said, on top of it, I don't care what it was that apparently... Chiarelli got McDavid's blessing from it. I don't care. You don't even go down that route. You can't tell me that there wasn't a guy that was at Brandon Manning's caliber that wasn't somebody else that was available.
Oh.
Like, there's many other guys I'm sure that he could have traded for, but you decide to trade for the one guy that just brings so much attention more to the team. And regardless if McDavid reached out to him, which is awesome that he did, and he took the high road and reached out to Manning.
Are you really surprised that McDavid took the high road?
No, it's not. And he but at the same time, he also kind of has to. He's a freaking captain. Like, you have to kind of make those moves when you're in that position. But regardless of the fact, you say you're sorry and it's in the past, it's 2 years ago, it's still going to be slightly awkward, It's still going to be weird, right? Because, he's that one guy, the one guy that McDavid has had an issue with in his couple years in the NHL so far. And he's the one you decide to pick up,
The other one, too, that I don't understand with Chiarelli, he goes off on guys with the stupid salary cap. The salary cap era, you pretty much have to be so stingy with your money, and he just throws it out. Brandon Manning, the big thing that I also don't like about Brandon Manning is you're paying him $2,250,000 next year. And I was like,
how does that help anything?
How does it help anything? As the guy brings distractions to the team, whether he could be a beauty. I don't know much about the guy. Yeah. He could be a beauty, but he brings a bunch of distractions. He's really not that good. You look at his stats, and they're just nothing special. Nothing screams off the board.
Yeah.
His best year was 65 games and 19 points. Yeah. Which is okay for a defenseman, but it's nothing that spectacular. And then his plus minus, he played one game with the Oilers, he's -1, and then with Chicago -14.
Yeah.
I was like, and he sat a lot. I was like, I just don't get why you make this trade.
No, I don't.
And especially when you just traded for a defenseman.
I think it's because Chicago got played again by a great GM over in Chicago, in Stan Bowman.
Who every Chicago fan was mad at before this. And now they're like, oh, you won a trade. It was like, Charlie, how are you this terrible?
Seriously, because Bowman, I saw a tweet right after this trade, and they're like, Bowman has made up for his 2 summer screw-ups of, signings and stuff with the last 2 trades, with the Manning trade, and I believe it was with them acquiring Strome.
Yes, Dylan Strome, yeah.
And who they dished off there. And I'm like, that's why Chicago's been good for so long, and they're on the decline right now, but that's why they've been able to manage themselves within a salary cap with such a good team, because they have such a good GM that's conscious of the salary cap and is willing to make those proper moves that, think 3 years ahead and think about salary cap and money. And because if you're not thinking about that in today's day and age with this kind of type of NHL and this salary cap, you're going to end up looking like Peter Chiarelli, getting played all the time, and getting into these crunch situations where you have to salary dump guys like Jordan Eberle because you gave Milan Lucic, who's your third liner right now, who hasn't scored yet still on North American soil, and you gave him $6 million. So it's ridiculous. I don't know. I understand where the fans are coming from with the fire Peter Chiarelli chant from the last game there. They have to get rid of him. They have to at this point. And Blogman Rye said, they should clean house and get rid of McTavish and Lowe too.
Just get rid of everybody to get a clean start. If Jack Eichel can do it in Buffalo, why can't Connor in Edmonton?
Exactly.
And I just look at mine as, well, we're now just going to switch topics to talking about Peter Chiarelli, just because it's just the number one thing that has to be talked about.
Absolutely.
And he's got to go. For a guy that I kind of defended at the beginning of the year, and I looked at, and I defended him lots just with his moves, because I felt like the Taylor Hall trade, I felt like Hall was never going to do that in Edmonton. And Hall didn't play good with Connor McDavid. But I did feel like they should have got more for Taylor Hall at the time. And I was like, well, I'm okay with it. Adam Larsson, I think, is a beauty defenseman that will just be so underappreciated, and Taylor Hall's a flashy forward, and so it'll be always so. And he addressed the need. However, every deal that Chiarelli has made a part of so far, he's lost. Whether it's a free agent signing, a trade, there has not been one. The only good one you could probably talk about was Patty Maroon. But then at the end of the day, we stole Patty Maroon from Anaheim, and then you lost out on a big trade with him when he last year's trade deadline.
When he had all of his value, and you waited till the last minute, and every GM other than you knew that you had to move him because the Oilers weren't making the playoffs last year, and you had to move him, so they just waited and waited you out because you knew you had to send him, and then last minute you threw out a second round or whatever it was at him.
Yep.
And he had to take it because he was forced to.
Yep.
Because he got played again. Like, these GMs must know that Chiarelli just can't negotiate, and that you can just play him. They must know, because every time he has lost a trade, and these GMs are making him look silly.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, some of the stuff, like, I understand why he does a lot of it. Like, mine was, like, the Edmonton, like, for Jordan Eberle's trade, when they got rid of him, yeah, he played the whole playoffs. When the Oilers made it once in the 10 years there, he played and didn't get one single goal. That was mine. I'm like, yeah, get rid of Ebbs. Like, his time to shine was then, and he didn't do what he's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And everybody knew that you wanted to get rid of him. And so you got Ryan Strome. But the thing was, you never replaced his 50 points. Ebbs is always a consistent 50-point guy. You still have to replace that, and you didn't.
Nope.
And so you've lost that. And then you traded Strome for Spooner, and Spooner hasn't been any better.
Exactly. He's taking these, like, little gambles, in a sense, that, like, oh, maybe a fresh start's going to work out for this guy. Maybe a new start's going to work out for this guy. Maybe you'll be like, no, you got to stop having that mindset, because it hasn't been working out for you. Maybe if you actually had some backing to like provide with that statement and some proof that some of these guys have worked out, but none of them have worked out when they come to Edmonton.
No, and the one thing I find that we keep talking about is you're doing the magic bean talk all the time. Is we're like, oh, maybe this will work out. Well, you have to get some proven guys in there sometimes, and I feel like he's not doing it. Like, and he's overpaying everybody just a little too much. And then guess what? You pay everybody. You pay 6 guys $1 million more than they're worth. That's a $6 million player you're missing out. I was like, you look at Zach Kassian, who you're paying 1.9, 128. Zach Kassian, effing beauty. The guy's awesome.
Yeah.
However, you gave him a 3-year deal at $2 million, and you should just 1-year dealed him again. Exactly. I was like, you gotta get, like, that's the thing about GM. You gotta have the love-hate relationship. You have to be a dick with your money in this year. You can't be the buddy of the office all the time.
Yeah, that's gonna play the friend role, because it's a business at the end of the day, and you know, you can't just base it off one hype year that Kassian had when he was rolling in the playoffs and everything. And he was being consistent, putting up some numbers, but you can't always be basing these, assuming that's going to happen every year. You have to take them overall for what their overall worth is and how they have been for their whole career, and watch the pattern. You can't just base it off one time and hope that that's going to be consistently every year when it hasn't been proven.
No, and so mine is just Chiarelli. Like, your time's up. You gotta go. Just don't do any more dumb trades before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Oilers can take what they have right now and turn it around, because I do believe they can. Like, when you have Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins out there, anything's possible.
It's still there. The opportunity is still there.
And the goalie situation, like, yeah, Cam Talbot hasn't been that good last year or this year, but he does play the odd game where you're like, there's the old Cam. He just needs his little bit of, I hate to use the term swagger again, but needs his swagger.
It's true, though.
back.
He needs to get, if he got that back, you see there's flares of it.
Because Cam also needs to know that this is his last year, and then he's a free agent this summer.
Yeah.
Same with Koskinen. So you know they're both going to be trying hard. They need to.
Exactly.
And so, I don't know. I still have faith in this team they could turn around, but Chiarelli, like, your time's gone. So my question to you for the day is, do you think, even if the Oilers do make the playoffs this year, is Chiarelli sticking around?
I'm worried that they'll keep him around if they make the playoffs, because they've made a public statement with that. I don't know how much merit they feel with that. In my mind, I feel like if you make a statement like that so openly to the public, you have to kind of own that, because it's gonna look even worse than if you go completely back on your word. But maybe they won't care about that. Maybe they don't care that they said that to the media. I think it all depends on how much they're going to take ownership to what they said a couple weeks ago, when they said it's either playoffs, you stay, no playoffs, you're gone.
Yeah.
I think if they do make the playoffs, honestly, just with how this organization seems to work, I honestly think if they make it, that he will stay. I don't want him to, but I think he will stay.
Nice.
That's what I feel.
I feel like he's gone no matter what.
Yeah.
I
think the Brandon Manning trade was the last nail in the coffin.
I feel like he just hasn't done enough. And I just hope that owners, Bob Nicholson, can just talk someone into it. Like, okay, this 4 years you've been here, you haven't done that much, and there's other GMs that basically could have done what he's done.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I look at it. Like, there's better options out there, and people talk about, like, oh, who would want to be the GM of the Edmonton Oilers? Anybody would. You get Connor freaking McDavid, and whether you, like, some people think, like, oh, you're a professional athlete, you want to be left alone, but guess what? When you're the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers, everybody knows who you are. And people kind of like that. I think they would. I would, personally.
And who doesn't want to be the guy that turns around this team right now?
Like, you could...
Because, that's the thing. It's not impossible. It's not like this is a complete dumpster fire of a team. Like you said, the players you just stated, there's the right pieces in there. But you get a proper GM to come in to build on that, provide that depth. You can make a franchise team out of this. You can make a dynasty if you wanted to. If you have the right GM that makes the right moves, and who doesn't want to be that GM, right?
Yeah, and you take the Edmonton Oilers into the playoffs, and let's say win a cup or go to the second round again. Like, man, when Peter Chiarelli, they took the team to the second round there. Like, I thought he was an awesome GM.
That guy's a genius. Yeah,
guy's a genius, and everybody kind of believed it. Then all of a sudden, it doesn't work out now for 2 years. And yeah, you're the greatest, and then you're the scapegoat the 1 year. But you know what? That's the NHL now this year.
That's part of the business.
It is, and as you look at coaches and everybody else that's been good and then gets fired, and I was like, man, Chiarelli's the next that I think just has to go.
Has to, man.
Yeah. And I just hope the best. I just hope that they do fix this wrong, and I hope the Oilers do end up being better, and I just hope that by the end of the year they just fire Chiarelli and just move on with it.
Me too. Yeah. You need a change at this point. You need somebody that's going to provide better consistency in every department of that organization as a GM, and I think the only way is getting rid of him.
Is get rid of him, and I don't leave the episode off on like a negative note.
Yeah,
it's like, but he just got to go.
He does.
He's got to go.
He really has to.
Because I was like, this next summer, if you get a new GM, new tandem, which kind of reminded me of 4 years ago where we got Todd McClellan and Peter Chiarelli.
Yeah.
Let's say you get Joe Quenneville and then name a GM that wouldn't want to be there.
Exactly, at that point.
I was like...
one of the best coaches, one of the best players.
Yeah.
Best player in the NHL.
I was like, what's not to love? I was like, you could be that. So I just think that the Oilers, I still think, too, they could flip it around this year. Are they going to be a for sure shoo-in? No, but the Pacific Division's pretty weak, and I feel like they can...
and that's the reason they would get in this year. That's okay.
Like,
take advantage of it, get in if you can.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I agree. Might be a negative, but hey, at least Connor McDavid is still putting up points phenomenally. He might, if he breaks 100 a year this year, he's gonna have some sad stats of being on a team that can't make the playoffs and be a consistent three-time 100-point getter. But I mean, is what it is. We'll see what happens. I think that's pretty much everything.
Yeah, I don't want to leave on a negative. I don't want to hate those people. And I know I addressed it of being the negative Nancy, but you know what? I feel like this team has a lot to prove, and I feel like there's a lot of good pieces here, and they just needs a change up.
Yep, and I think it'll happen. I think we'll just have to grind through the rest of this year and hope for the best, hope for some positives, and a little bit of a turnaround.
We got her.
But yeah, other than that, thanks for joining us on this podcast. I know it's been a little while, but we'll try and keep them up to date a little bit more often. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
See you next time.